Welcome to Top 10 Nerd! I'm Kat Jovi, and today we're going to be looking at the supernatural. Specifically, which superheroes got their powers from the supernatural. Just to set the bar here, supernatural would include any force beyond scientific explanation, so for instance, radioactive spiders are out. So let's get to it. At number 10, we have Raven. She's the daughter of a demon father and a human mother. Being able to sense and alter the emotions of others is her main power, like suppressing negativity, including calming people, or even making someone fall in love with her. I mean, she's a teen titan, so she's gonna have some, superpowers that suit being in high school. What would you do with powers in high school? Come on now. You would definitely make people fall in love with you. There are offshoots from that though. She has a soul self that takes the shape of a bird that is solid black energy that she can only be separated from for about 5 minutes, but it can travel long distances and telepathically communicate. It can also be a shield. She can absorb the pain of the wounded into herself, committed, and can also induce rapid healing. So she sounds kind of like a mage that I'd really want to have on my team if I was going into battle. At number 9, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was a huge favorite of mine growing up. She is the chosen one from a long line of vampire slayers. She's just a high school girl trying to fit in, but is approached to fulfill her destiny as the Slayer while she's there. At first she fights against it and doesn't want to do it, but then eventually she decides to take her place as the Slayer of Sunnydale with her Watcher and her group of friends, sort of the Scooby-Doo gang. She has mystical powers that give her superhuman strength, mind-blowing agility, resilience. She does a ton of training to fight attacks against vampires, demons, and other dark forces with her Watcher. At number 8, we have Shazam. Now, technically this could be a couple of people, but today I'm going to be talking about Billy Batson this time. His journey to being a superhero started when he was 12. He ends up on a magical subway car that transports him to the Rock of Eternity, which is this magical place where there's a wizard named Shazam residing. Long story short, he ends up speaking the name of Shazam and is transformed into this adult superhero with the abilities of 5 gods. He has strength from Hercules, stamina from Atlas, the power of Zeus, which enhances his other physical abilities and also gives him lightning and allows him to interdimensionally travel. Hello. It also gives him the courage of Achilles, the speed of Mercury, and by that extension he's also able to fly. I have to say, I love the montage of him and his friend trying to figure out what powers he had in the movie. It was perfect. At number 7, we have Sargon the Sorcerer. He gets his powers from the Ruby of Life, a gem of great mystical power. It's the same gem that Spectre uses in his ring. It's what the ring is made of. It's the first object that he consciously sees and touches as an infant because his mother wears it as a pendant. So later on in life, when he goes on archaeological digs with his father, he ends up learning more about it, and this includes an incantation. He then recites it while he's touching the ruby and gains the power to control inanimate matter that he touches, so he can build walls out of the earth and stuff like that. Really neat. At number 6, we have Spawn, a human assassin that gets backstabbed and murdered and ends up in hell. While he's there, he makes a deal with a demon to see his wife one more time, but this means that he has to become an undead hellspawn. When he gets back to Earth, he really doesn't have much memory left anymore. He's super disfigured, but he has these magical powers, as well as this amazing suit that's connected to him, and then also this monitor called Violator. He has different powers over the series, but here are a couple. He has superhuman strength, speed, durability. He also has a living symbiotic costume, that's the suit that I mentioned, and that gives him obviously a bad look, but also powers along with it. It bonds to him and will protect him no matter what. It's part of a cape, there's chains, there's spikes, there's skulls. It's a whole terrifying thing if you were going up against him. At number 5, we have Magik. She was born a mutant and is actually Colossus's sister, but as a child she was kidnapped by Belisco, who is this evil sorcerer who is granted immortality and this immense mystical power by these elder gods. So he brings her to Limbo, where he turns part of her soul into a bloodstone, and his spell ends up giving her all of this magic power, like teleportation discs for instance. She also ends up having access to both white and black magic. She has a soul sword and even has mystical armor that shows up around her. It has horns and hoofs, gives her this great demon-like look. At number 4, 4, we have the Green Lantern. Now, there are a few Green Lanterns, but for today, let's look at Hal Jordan for one that's a little more current than Alan Scott. He started out life as a test pilot who was given a power ring by a dying alien who he himself had been a Green Lantern. He derives his power from the ring and also from the Green Lantern power battery. It allows him to channel his willpower and emotions to making these super imaginative constructions to fight evil. So for example, he could have a huge boxing glove, or make himself fly, or create a shield, or a sword, lasers, become invisible, he can make mirages. I mean, it's his imagination, so it's limited to that, so as long as he has a great imagination, he can construct a lot. At number 3, we have Ghost Rider. He started out as Johnny Blaze, at least the first one. He was a stunt motorcyclist and traded his soul to a devil named Mephisto to save his father, who's technically a surrogate father, from dying of cancer. On account of this, he transforms into a Ghost Rider and is able to sense evil. He becomes virtually indestructible, has superhuman strength. Visually, I think he's also a really neat superhero with the hellfire skin and floating head skull. Also, he has a sweet ride, and that is a fiery motorcycle that can travel faster than any normal vehicle. It can jump across huge distances, like way more than what he did when he was a stuntman. He can usually defy physics with it, like he can ride up walls and such instead of just on normal surfaces. And he's just basically indestructible. He has superhuman strength, very hard to injure, bullets and knives can just pass right through him most of the time. I mean, the advantages of being made of hellfire. At number 2, we have Wonder Woman, also known as Princess Diana, the daughter of the Queen of the Amazons and Zeus's daughter. So yeah, super strong woman to begin, from one of the strongest gods and a very strong woman. Needless to say, she ends up with superhuman gifts as well as rigorous training growing up with the Amazons. She gets to don a special suit of armor as well as a tiara that serves as a projectile. She has the lasso of truth, oh classic, as well as the indestructible bracelets. She also gets to travel around in an invisible plane, don't we all want one, as well as wielding a magical sword that is sharp enough to cut the electrons off an atom. Would not want to. She can heal really quickly, she's super strong, she's very resilient to physical and magical attacks. She can fly, run exceptionally fast, she can communicate with animals, and will live longer than most humans on Earth. The list goes on with her. I mean, she's related to a god. It makes complete sense. At number 1, we have Doctor Strange. God, I love that movie. The visuals were amazing. I think I saw it 3 times in theaters. He starts out as this egotistical surgeon who likes to have people's lives in his hands, and he's at the top of his career, being all egotistical and stuff, when he gets into a car accident that ruins his hands. He spends tons of money, and he has a bunch, he was a surgeon, but he spends tons of money on treatments and surgeries, trying to get them back in working order to get back to what he's amazing at. He spends his last dollars on a plane ticket and finds the Sorcerer Supreme, who eventually agrees to take him under his wing as a student. This is where he's trained in mystical arts and martial arts. He also acquires the Cloak of Levitation. This is just the tip of the iceberg though. Throughout the series we see him wield a lot of white magic, he uses clairvoyancy, he's able to conjure weapons and swords and axes. I mean, he's an exceptionally powerful gentleman. And there you have it, the top 10 superheroes who got their powers from the supernatural. Which one's your favorite? Would you have added anything to the list? Comment down below, I would love to find out. Don't forget to subscribe and like, ring that bell to never miss an episode. I'm Kat Jovi, and this was Top 10 Nerd. Thanks so much for stopping by.